Hello, everyone. Let's get started with the highlights today. I'm just going to jump straight to it. And yeah, let's start. The first one being from AI 2041. It's a collection of stories, futuristic stories set in 2041 that kind of shows what AI might look like in, like 20 years from now. Uh, so In actual operation, the CNN would decide for itself what features, for example, stripes, ears, or more likely something beyond human comprehension it would use in order to maximize the objective function. So, CNN refers to convolutional neural networks, and it's talking. Now, I don't really remember which story this is from, but CNN is widely relevant into many different kind of scenarios. So, I think, oh yeah, so this is about, it's talking about stripes and ears and things like that. So I'm thinking it's talking about facial recognition. So, of course, CNN is used over there as well. And, it's just talking about how it would determine who this person is, from, like, as in, like, looking at a pixelated version of a face and trying to determine from that, okay, who this person is. So what features it would look like, that's up to CNN. That's not really what we imagine. It's kind of like a black box, and that's a real term used in machine learning. That many of these models, they're like black boxes. Um, it's a bunch of numbers, and we have like some understanding of how they work, but really, if you just try to interpret it from the the numbers that are in the model, or the weights, it's called the weights that are in the model, you're not really going to figure out anything from that. So yeah, let's move on. The voltage effect. Much more money has been invested in the law enforcement and military side of the drug war, even though the marginal benefits are much greater from the last dollar spent on prevention and substance abuse recovery. Naturally, when you miscalculate marginal benefits at scale, the amount of money that gets squandered increases exponentially. This is why benefit cost analysis for government needs to focus not just on average utility, but on utility at the margins too. So, this concept is very much about um, focusing on the cost at the margins. So, for example, you may have that you may estimate that a project takes, let's say, $100,000, or let's take a number. Let's take an easier number. Let's say the project takes $1 million, and let's say that the project has reached 80% completion, and you've spent $800,000 on that. Like, let's just say it's not realistically how this works, but okay. Again, this is just an example. So now you have $200,000 of budget left. You have 20% of the project left, and assuming that you're getting some value out of this 80%, the 20% you may not get the same value anymore. You may not get the value worth 20% anymore. That the 80% of work that you have completed, that may actually fit most of your objectives. So the remaining margin that's left, if you're just saying that, if you're just thinking that, okay, I have this budget left, I have to use it, that's just waste of money. Rather, it may there may be another project that needs this money to start off, and it may actually provide a lot more benefits out to the other project and the outcomes of that project, rather than continuing to invest in this same project. So this is an example with the author is making with the drug war. The amount being spent on the law enforcement and military side of the drug war, rather than the prevention and abuse, the education. So yeah, that's the context here. Moving on, think again. There's a fine line between heroic persistence and foolish stubbornness. Sometimes the best kind of grit is gritting our teeth and turning around. Yeah, and I think this says everything, and I think it's telling that. I think this is something I have to double check. But Angela Duckworth, I think she wrote the book on she wrote a book called Grit, and she recently wrote a book called Quit. So yeah, sometimes uh, like taking a step back and reevaluating, or turning around, or saying that, okay, this is not my objective anymore. I'm going to abandon this. That takes grit, and yeah, like that stubbornness and heroic persistence, that's not helping anybody. So yeah, and many other books cover this, including the book we just covered recently, Voltage Effect, just in the previous highlight. Moving on, the earned life. Creating an earned life is first and foremost a matter of scale, of going really big on the important things that keep you on message, small on the things that do not influence the outcome. This is the secret of living an earned life. It is lived at the extremes. You're maximizing what you need to do, minimizing what you deem unnecessary. This is, yeah, there are like a lot of polarizing words over here, but the message is pretty straightforward, that you're going to say no to things that are not going to influence the outcomes that you want. And it's very much similar to message that's in other books, like for example Getting Things Done, or 4000 Weeks, where the message is that, for example, I've discussed this earlier, in one of these books, the exercises list down 25 of your topmost priorities. So now, once you have done that, focus on the top 5 and actively avoid the remaining 20. And like I've discussed this before as well, these 20 might be, they are a part of your top 25 priorities, but you're still going to ignore the remaining 20, these 20. You're not just ignore, you're going to actively avoid. You're going to be very careful that you don't slip into that. And this is, I think, this highlight is also saying the same thing, that you're minimizing what you deem unnecessary. Now, of course, it's like, it's a different thing. Over here, the author is talking about something which is completely unnecessary. In the other case, it was still part of your top 25. But the point in the other, in that example of top 25, is that these 20 are unnecessary in a way, because the top 5, that is all you can manage. That is all you need to focus on. Now, the next one is so good they can't ignore you. Strain I now accepted was good. Instead of seeing this discomfort as a sensation to avoid, I begin to understand it the same way that a bodybuilder understands muscle burn, a sign that you're doing something right. Okay, pretty straightforward. The stress, that the healthy amount of stress, healthy amount of strain, that it was good. Sometimes you need to be a little bit uncomfortable to grow. So nothing new over here. I'll move on. The feedback founders need to hear. You're the expert on your intentions. Everyone around you is the expert on your impact. Leading effectively is about marrying intention with impact. So this is another way of saying that, when you judge yourself, you're judging yourself by intention, but when you judge others, you're judging by the outcome or the output they produce. So it's the same thing. So if you are, like if you have done something and you have your intentions in the mind, you know your intentions best, but others won't know that. For others, it's just the impact that your work has been producing. So yeah, leading effectively is about marrying intention with impact. So both are necessary. Next, it's measure what matters. At Intel, he went on, we tend to be exactly the opposite. It almost doesn't matter what you know. It's what you can do with whatever you know or can acquire and actually accomplish that tends to be valued here. Hence the company's slogan, Intel delivers. So I think this is referring to Andy Grove, and so this book is based on a lot of ideas of Andy Grove. This whole concept of OKRs came from there, and yeah, I think what I'm not really sure of the context over here. Is it in? Yeah, I think I better skip this. I'm not really sure of the context, but again, uh, it's not a foreign idea to us. It doesn't matter what you know. What matters is what you can accomplish. So yeah. Again, measure what matters. Use all hands meeting to explain why an OKR is important to the organization. Then keep repeating the message until you're tired of hearing it yourself. I think the key is, keep repeating the message until you're tired of hearing it yourself. Because when you're tired of hearing it yourself, that is when the others are just beginning to hear it. So sometimes repetition feels tiresome. People actually avoid it, but it's not a luxury that leaders can have. Avoiding repetition. Repetition is very much important for leaders to. There is this study. It's a very popular study. I'm sure you've heard of it. That on average, in an office, you need to repeat a message 7 times before it is heard. So yeah, moving on. The big leap. Your zone of excellence is a space in which you know how to function so well that you can attain great results without stretching yourself very much. It's a box, though, because ultimately you find yourself stymied and unsatisfied within it. You're doing the same thing over and over, and while it feeds the people around you, it doesn't feed you. You need to get out of any boxes you're in so you can taste the sweet freedom of living on a continuous upward spiral. And the upward spiral the author refers to over here is called zone of genius. So there is like zone of competence and zone of excellence and all of that. But even though zone of excellence is a space in which you which is where you can achieve great results, but it's still a box. That's the point author is making. So you have to really go to the upward spiral, which is zone of genius. Going on, the six types of working genius. All right, so genius. Enablement can be seen as the glue on a team, brought about by people who get joy and energy from answering the call to help. If it is lacking on a team, success is unlikely. So I think this is something that maybe it take much longer to cover, and I'm really at the end of my allotted time. Enablement is one of the geniuses that are identified in this book. Six types of working genius, and I'm like in the last section of the book, almost done with it. So I think it's like it's the fifth genius that's mentioned over here, and I've highlighted this because it's the the reference to glue, and we have this concept of glue roles within software teams as well. So that's the thing that I wanted to mirror. But I think this is something that I probably need to cover in some other video. It's like I said, it's very short on time, and that's really I'm at the end of the videos as well. So thank you for watching. I know this was like it was not really a quick one, but still, I know I rushed through the last highlight. And I actually, when reading the book, I had this in my mind that whenever this six working types of genius comes up, I'll take some extra time to cover it. And it came up, and I didn't really cover it. So anyway, maybe that's for next time. And have a good day. Thank you.